read something like Ray Kurzweil's Age of Spiritual Machines, you will understand that these people who do not believe in the soul or God or anything else have created something, and as Kurzweil has told me himself, you'll be able to soon merge with the machine. This was him 2010 maybe telling me this. You're going to be able to merge with the machine, and he said because it will be moving too fast. You will have infinite knowledge, all of this stuff, that if you don't understand the sacredness of the soul, it sounds like a golden age. You will be able to access everything. And then he starts in with, and you won't have to carry a wallet because everything will be stored, and what you implant in you will become part of you, and you'll think differently, and you'll be able to hive mind. And that's not being a human. And I said, Ray, what if you want to remain human? And he said, why would you? I said, because, I kind of like the original model. And he told me, well, then you will have to be isolated because you'll be a problem for everybody else. So anybody said everybody's going to want to do this. And I think a lot of people will want to do this. But I come back to where you're driving, that, when you read about taking the mark of the beast, there is no salvation for you. Once you take it, it's over. You can't untake it. You can't be redeemed at all. It's the same with this. Once you become transhuman, you can't undo that. And right. You've lost your right to salvation. And so you cannot be saved. That starts to make that scripture in Revelation work.
Precisely right.
All of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, yes, because you're not human.
And many more. You can't buy and sell anymore, right? I mean, think about it.
I know, all of it.
So right now, you could probably maybe run a business without a cell phone, without access to the internet, let's say, but it would be really, really hard, right? So that technology that we have in our hands, our cell phones, the technology we hold in our hands is going into our brains very soon. It is going into the cerebral cortex. And rather than surfing the internet with our thumbs, we're going to be surfing the internet with this accomplice, artificial intelligence, through the speed of thought. We will be interacting with the compendium of human knowledge at the speed of thought. As soon as this technology, as soon as we merge with the machines and also with artificial intelligence. So how are you, if you just want to be an old-fashioned, homegrown, organic human being who's going to try and compete in that environment? Think about young people going to university and they decide, you know what, I don't want to upgrade. I don't want the upgrades. I don't want the enhancements. I don't want to put the technology into my biology. I don't want the chip in my cerebral cortex. How is that person going to compete with all of the transhuman, with all of the transhuman students who are accessing the compendium of human information at the speed of thought?
It would be as if you are walking into a room and there's one person there that has an IQ of 20.
Precisely right.
They can't function. I can't have a conversation with you. I can't do anything.
That's right.
Because you have an IQ of 20. And that was Ray's point. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants it. And the way it's described and what you're seeing on the horizon, it is going to be described as a golden age.
It is. It is. And you know what's happening here is we're going full circle back to the beginning. Because our story begins in the Garden of Eden. And the temptation of the serpent was, if you eat of this fruit, surely you will not die. You will become like the gods. You will become like the gods. So it's the same temptation. And what's happening here is that we are succumbing to a Faustian bargain. We are about to sell our birthright for a bowl of stew. For the advances and the advantages of posthumanism, of transhumanism, the enhancements, we are going to give away the most precious thing that we have, which is our humanity. And that's why, and you can see the slow march. You can see the cunning of the serpent, how the ground has been laid for this eventuality. that the human being has been degraded. It started with Darwin, and then it progressed from there. The gradual erosion of human worth, and not like not worth as an individual, but worth as a species. If you just if you're just the product of evolution, if you're just the cousin of a monkey, then there are no guardrails. There are no guardrails. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything to be a human being, and there's no reason whatsoever to preserve our humanity. This is where the gospel of Christ is so important, especially for Christians to anchor themselves in the gospel of Christ. Because, as I said, Jesus is a kinsman redeemer who became a man to redeem mankind. And so I'm stressing whenever I get the opportunity to talk to young people that you need to understand the worth of your humanity. The worth of your humanity. And don't be beguiled into exchanging it, into selling your birthright for a bowl of stew, for life extension, and for all of the extraordinary capabilities that are going to become available. We are living right now in what technologists and futurists call the hybrid age. And the reason why they describe this as the hybrid age is because in the past you have various streams of technology that were being independently developed. These are the famous GRIN technologies, for example. You had genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. Those are the four big ones. And they're being developed, each one of them as a separate stream. But today, in our time, these streams are coalescing. They're coming together. And so you now have, for example, you can take artificial intelligence, you could take artificial intelligence and insert it into a Tesla robot. And now you have an autonomous robotic being, which in the future is going to be, by the way, policing our streets, fighting our wars. This goes for genetics, for nanotechnology. We haven't even yet entered into the genetic revolution. That's coming. By the way, there's a book, I don't know if you've read the book, trying to remember the name of the woman who wrote the book. It's called Countdown. And she predicts in the book that the sperm count of males in the West is going to 0 by 2045. In other words, we're reaching the end of our genetic rope, and lo and behold, what are we developing right now? Artificial wombs. And we are perfecting in vitro fertilization. We're reaching the end of our genetic rope, and the only way that the human species is going to be able to continue to breed, to populate, is through artificial wombs in the future. We're already the constructs, the framework of this post-human, again, apocalypse, not utopia, apocalypse, is being constructed right in front of our eyes.
Is there a line that you have in your mind? Is there I'll do this, but I won't do that? That's the scary part of this. Is it's such a slippery slope. It's such a blurry line at the beginning that you don't exactly know. It'll be easier to spot in 10 years, 15 years. Right now, today, in the next 5 years, it's going to be really slippery and hard.
Yes, it will, especially for our kids and our grandkids.
Right.
So, yeah, I have some guardrails. So, you have to talk about each one of these technologies separately, which we don't have time for. But let's talk about genetic technology. So, right now, we have very effective genetic technologies that we're developing and improving. For example, we have gene therapy. Gene therapy is if I have a gene that's mutated and it's causing cancer, it's causing some other genetic disorder, you can take that same gene from another human genome, and that's the key, from another human genome that has the correct code, that's not mutated, and you can take it and splice it into my genome and correct the code, right? That's human to human genetic modification. I've got no problem with that because it's human to human. We're not altering the genetic matrix of the human species that God designed. But once we start going beyond that, once we start doing one of two things, creating new sequences or integrating sequences from other kinds of creatures, then we're crossing that species barrier. We are now entering into cross-species genetics, which, by the way, is explicitly prohibited in the Bible. So Cross-species genetics. This was one of the great sins of the Watchers, by the way. They engaged in